I'm Ashe Oro. I am the host of the Liberty Entrepreneurs podcast. I've been in the delegated proof of stake family for quite a few years now. I interviewed back when Dan and Ned Scott created Steem. I thought it was just amazing how you could put social media on a blockchain and actually have people interact with and use a blockchain without even knowing it's a blockchain. So that's what got me really interested back in 2016 in delegated proof of stake. Can you see my screen? I'll just run through without full presentation mode.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me focus on the PowerPoint right now. But.
So just real quick, brief background. I don't want this to be about me, but I think it frames the perspective a bit. I've got bachelor degrees in computer and electrical engineering. Most recently, my brother Zane and I founded the FreedomProxy on EOS, which is a voting proxy, for the purpose of, I've dedicated my life to the concept of building freedom and helping my brethren, liberty-minded people try to understand how to build freedom. And in my opinion, the EOS blockchain is one of the best tools available to build freedom. Host of the Liberty Entrepreneurs podcast. I've got a company, Liberty Virtual Assistants, out of the Philippines, and I've got a blockchain project on Steem called Steem Smarter, which is basically an analytics and reporting bot, and we analyze about 1 million data points every day. So there's a lot of information going through these delegated proof of stake blockchains. And I want to talk to everyone today about the importance of voting. As anarcho-capitalist, as an anarchist, I don't vote in traditional, like governmental types of things, just because I don't believe it changes anything. I don't believe there's much value there at all. And if you vote or if you don't vote, it doesn't really matter. You're still stuck with the outcome. But on EOS, that's different because it's a voluntary blockchain and a voluntary voting apparatus. So if you want to hold EOS tokens, then you have the freedom to vote or not vote. So today I want to just go over some representation, how voting actually protects our blockchain, the feedback loop that I think is so integral in the EOS voting, and then what is proxy voting and why does it even matter? So, this whole idea about a representative democracy or a direct democracy that we had in the United States from, towards the founding was that your voice mattered. And it really doesn't, but in EOS it does. Every single person that holds EOS tokens gets a vote. You can express your preferences on the EOS blockchain by helping elect the people, the block producers that you feel represent your values and who you are. And by voting for these block producers, you're even if you only have a couple EOS, 5, 10, 100, 1,000 EOS, then choice to put the people in charge that you think are custodians or guardians of the EOS blockchain. And I think this is really important because no other blockchains are really doing this. I mean, yes, Steem and BitShares, but only these delegated proof of stake blockchains allow you to actually feel represented so that we don't have to fork, right? How are you going to get represented in Bitcoin, or how are you going to get represented in Ethereum? Or you would just have to sell your tokens and exit the system. That's how you remove your representation. But here in EOS, we have it. You can vote and represent your voice, and the more capital you're willing to put into play or risk in this ecosystem, then the larger voice you have, which makes sense. Also, voting protects our blockchain, and I don't think this is talked about enough. Everybody knows that in Bitcoin or Ethereum, the hash power is protecting the blockchain. And yes, our block producers have technical specs, and they've put themselves behind firewalls and spoofing IP addresses so they can't be found very easily. And that's the technical aspect of protecting the EOS blockchain. But voting actually protects the EOS blockchain as well. But how does it do that? Well, let's just hypothetically, let's say that there's only 1 million EOS tokens that have voted. And of those 1 million EOS tokens, they've elected all the block producers, the top 21 block producers. Think about how easy it would be for some whale let's say a Bitcoin whale, for instance, to come buy a bunch of EOS. Remember, there's only 1 million in this hypothetical scenario. There's only 1 million votes being cast, 1 million EOS tokens being used to vote. Somebody could come in and buy 2 million EOS tokens. I mean, you know, right now it's like $8 million. That's nothing for a large old school whale. And they could come in and vote out all the people, all the block producers that we've voted in, and just change the entire guard. And so now we don't even know who's protecting our network and who's guarding our network. It's whoever this random whale, Bitcoin whale, for instance, comes in and buys all these tokens and puts in their people. And we've already seen that a little bit in EOS, but the more people that vote, the more votes you need to sway or to manipulate who's in the top 21. And so it costs them more money, right? So now if we have, let's say we had all 1 billion EOS tokens voting, which that's probably never going to happen. But again, hypotheticals here. Think about what it would cost and limiting the attack vector of voting, how much more it would cost for someone to come in and try to sway that vote. Well, it's going to be just, you know, it's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be so much more than the million that was voted earlier. So the more people that vote, the more expensive it is to sway and manipulate who's guarding the network. There's also a really cool feedback loop in voting. You know, in traditional government voting systems, they just kind of get your vote and then they renege on all the promises, and nobody's really benefiting from this. It's just a charade, it's a scam. But in EOS, these block producers are trying to get your vote, people who align with their values, and you're voting for block producers who align with your values and what you think is the best for the EOS blockchain. And why do you want to vote for the BPs that you feel are the best for the EOS blockchain? Because ideally it increases the value of the overall blockchain, thus increasing the value of your tokens, right? So you're voting with your pocketbook. And in order to attract and keep your vote, these block producers are creating tools and dApps, and they're listening to what their constituents want, and they're giving it. Since we can vote every 3 minutes, we can vote them in and out, and there's no tenured time or lame duck sessions like we see in traditional government voting systems. So the feedback loop of, oh, okay, I'm a token holder. What is this block producer aligned with my values? Okay, they say they are, and from what I see they are. And they're creating some stuff that I find pretty interesting and valuable, but the block producers are reaching out. I mean, look at like Cyberglass, for instance. They're constantly putting out information, creating content, trying to fund hardware wallets and stuff like this, and they're listening to what people want. This is the free market feedback loop that goes around, that you vote for people because you believe what they're doing, and then they respect you and reach back out because they want to keep your vote. It's building a community. Good BPs listen to the community that voted them in. Moving right along here. So it brings us to proxy voting. Like, this is such a foreign concept to most people, but again, we already see this in traditional systems. We're just replicating traditional systems, making them better, making them more efficient, making them decentralized and safer and censorship free, but also making them voluntary. Right now, proxy voting in the traditional government sense is you elect your representative and then they vote on your behalf, right? But you can't just change your proxy vote. You can't just change your representative every time you want. So proxy voting on EOS, I already think it's significant. And if Dan Larimer's plan to create markets for all these system resources becomes a thing, I know that there's a requirement to vote there as well to get your rewards payout for staking your coins. But proxy voting exists because not everyone has time to research these block producers. It's a lot of work. I mean, parsing their JSON files, contacting them like we contact them with surveys to try to get some subjective information about who they are and what do they stand for, and are they trying to build freedom? Are they liberty minded? Do they have community outreach? Are they trying to build the tools and resources that we token holders need to successfully stay a part and feel a part of this EOS community? So proxy voting is great because rather than researching hundreds of block producers, which you probably don't have time to do, but guess what? Some of us do. And I've helped build a team, and there's tons of other great proxies. Like Luke Stokes has an amazing proxy, and we will do the due diligence for you, and we'll report on this stuff, and we'll make sure that if you feel that you align just with us, the Freedom Proxy, for instance, then if you believe in like supporting liberty-minded people and building freedom, then that's our mission. We are going to find those block producers who are doing that, and we're going to keep tabs on them. And nobody should take their spot for granted, because we could change our vote every 3 minutes. But the idea is you buy into a community, and I see proxies as a smaller community from within the larger EOS community. And we're going to do your bidding and your voting, and we're going to make sure I'm going to put my reputation on the line for the BPs that we vote for at Freedom Proxy. And I'm willing to be transparent and vulnerable about that. So website's coming soon here. I don't want to make this a pitch. I'm just really passionate about keeping block producers who are transparent and building freedom and offering, building the dApps and the wallets and the website, the block explorers that we want, and staying very technical and keeping our blockchain safe, because this is our record of truth. What's more important than that? That's it. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm on Twitter at @Ashe_Oro. You can check out the podcast. I'm hoping to get Dan on there soon if I can get in touch with him. But I've interviewed Luke and EOS New York and EOS 42, and I think my most recent a while ago was with Everpedia. You can go to the Freedom Proxy, scan these with your phones, and it should take you right to the website. And yeah, I can answer any questions you guys have. Let me stop sharing here. All right.
All right. One final question. Thanks so much, Ashe. Great presentation. We got one question for Ashe, and so let's make it a good one.
All right. Let's see here. How long have you been an anarchist? EOS Watchdogs. Oh, what up, EOS Watchdogs? You guys are doing great work too. I would say I became a libertarian in 2007 and 2008 through the whole Ron Paul presidential campaign. And then as I understood more about philosophy and the consistency of the non-aggression principle, I identified that at the root of everything, government was based on aggressive force. And I find aggressive force to be the foundation of immorality and evil. And so it was a pretty easy jump for me to just try to align myself with institutions that would never force anyone to do anything. Everything's voluntary. What's your website? Yeah, so the podcast website's libertyentrepreneurs.com, and the Freedom Proxy is freedomproxy.org. And we hope to get the full version of the website up in 2 weeks or so, where you can proxy your vote to us from right on the website. So,
all right, thanks so much, Ashe. Great presentation. Yeah, and if people want to proxy their votes, Ashe is a great option. So, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and thanks for doing this. This is a cool virtual conference here.
Yeah. Hope
I'd like to see how many people. I think we have 615 people in. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's registered live. We have about 100 or so every.
Oh, cool.
So,
all right. Hey, well, thanks for all the great feedback, guys. I see some Ron Paul 2008 supporters in there. So let's do this.
All right.